Good morning and good afternoon and good evening to everybody, and welcome to another session of Expand Your Horizon. Together with us today is Doron Tamir, the CEO of Lava. Hi, Doron.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us, and looking forward for our session today.
My pleasure.
We're going to talk about electricity and heat and the conversion between them and all kind of other exciting technologies. But maybe before we jump into that, let's get to know you, Doron. Today you're the CEO of Lava, but probably you had some interesting career before that.
Okay, so hi everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts with you. And yes, I'm already 20 years in the renewable business. Before that, I was in the, in Israel, you have a very big high-tech industry. So I start with the high-tech, and then I came to the conclusion that even I will succeed with my startup, actually my influence will be almost zero. Okay, so if you have, let's assume you have Facebook or Instagram or whatever, huge success, the impact on our world, usually it's negative. Okay, so maybe you can have a lot of money, but I decided that this is not what I want to do. Okay, so I decided to move for something that can make any influence. And then I realized a friend of mine came to me and showed me what is a rooftop of solar PV. And I saw the Excel and it was great. So I asked him, why not to go to Greenfield? Greenfield is actually big solar project on the land, not a rooftop. And he told me I don't know how to make it, and I decided to jump into the water. I resigned from my job. I had a startup actually for internet and fashion and how to measure clothes, which is very, very interesting, but actually zero influence. And I established my first company in renewable. And I became.
This was when? What years are we talking about?
It was 2008. Actually, I was one of the pioneers in solar energy in Israel. And then I realized that it's a game of big players. Okay, it will be very difficult to do it alone. So after a while, I succeed to bring EDF and Energy Nouvelle to be my partner. EDF Energy Nouvelle is the French utility, one of the biggest in the world. So I tried to bring them to be my partners. They throw me away from the door, and then I came into the window, so they throw me through the window. But after a while, I succeed to convince them that it can be a very good idea to become my partner. And yeah, so from 2008, we became partners. And together we become the biggest player in Israel. But after 10 years...
Greenfield solar PV, so you build large PV photovoltaic solar projects?
Yeah, exactly. Today, this corporation have over 1 gigawatt of solar PV. But after a decade, I sold my part in the portfolio to insurance company. I like very much solar PV, but on the other side, solar, it's amazing technology, okay? But it's not baseload. Baseload, it means that you can work 24/7. It's not dispatchable. So in case that the solar is not shining, so you have no electricity. And even if you connect it to storage, if the storage is empty, you don't have any electricity, okay? And the last one, it's not stable. Okay, so if you have clouds in the sky, you have no electricity or the electricity is going down. So actually, it's not a power station. Okay, when you need electricity, the average man wants, when you push the button in his house, he wants electricity. You have no patience to have an excuse for, now I have a cloud. Okay, so to be honest, solar is very nice, amazing, but it's not real electricity. So if you want to make it real electricity, it needs to be baseload, dispatchable, and stable. This is actually maybe the biggest problem in the renewable energy market, how to convert solar and wind to baseload dispatchable stable. Okay, so in 2020, I established my new company, Lava. We were, until 2 months ago, we were Luminescent, but then we changed to Lava. Just to close the intro, so I have 3 kids that I feel responsible to try to solve some of the problems, the climate change problem for them. My kids is 24, 14, and 20. And I live in Israel in a small place on the beach. And now I'm 3 weeks in the US. So this is basically who I am.
Thank you very much. And a question I ask all my guests, what are the 2 things that Google doesn't know about you?
Okay, so the first one that I'm now already 10 years protesting against the Israel government. Okay, so I hope we will win in the end of it. But in some point, which was actually 1.5 years ago, I come to the conclusion that I have 2 fights that I need to win. One is against the Israeli government, and the second one is the climate change. And I decided that the climate change is more important. Okay, so my focus is on climate change. Second, it's actually that after I was in the army and our prime minister was murdered, Yitzhak Rabin, I was the CEO of Dor Shalom Association. Yeah, I don't know if you know them because you are too young, maybe. But it was a peace association, and it's become a very big association. And I've done it for 2 years, okay, until I start my business career.
Yeah, and yeah, obviously I know this peace association. And maybe lastly, before we jump into Lava and the technology, what do you like to do when you're not working?
So I like very much the sea. So I'm swimming, kitesurf, snowboarding, running. Everything is around nature. I like to do. And plus minus, this is what I'm doing, walking.
Yeah. You haven't said surfing, which is also in the ocean.
No, I said kite surf. No, I didn't say. Yeah. So kite surf, swimming, running, surfing, sailing, whatever. Give me water and I will handle it.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I played water polo for many years. So you give me water and I jump in.
Yeah. So I don't like pools. Yeah. But if it's an open sea, yeah, so I like it very much.
Nice. Okay, let's switch gear. Let's talk about Lava. And obviously we'll need to understand the problems and the challenges of the current environment and how you guys are solving it. So,
okay, so
feel free to take us through the story.
Yeah, so the basic principle that, everyone is speaking about 2050 zero emission, but to be honest, no one knows how to make it. Okay, so this is the biggest problem. And now even, when you have, in a lot of places in the world, some of the governments don't believe in climate change or don't believe that we can fix it. And actually what we are saying that we have the solution. Okay, and we start from heat. This is the reason why we're saying follow the heat. Because in our perspective, heat can be can play a significant role to solve the problem. And this is actually what we are doing in Lava. Okay, we're converting heat to electricity and electricity to heat and cooling in the most efficient way. So if we need to understand what is the meaning, so let's look on the problem. Okay, the problem it's the red line. The red line, it's called isentropic expansion, and it's not important to remember the name, but the meaning of isentropic expansion is that when the gas is expanding, it's cooling down. Okay, so in your engine, in the car engine, when the gas is expanding, it's moving the piston. In steam turbine generate 50% of the electricity in the world, okay? It can be nuclear power station, coal power station, gas power station. So actually most of the electricity in the world is generated by steam turbine, and steam turbine is working when the steam is expand, it's moving the blades of the turbine, okay? But the problem when the steam is expand and when any gas is expanding, it's cooling down. When it's cooling down, end of work, okay? So this is the most inefficient way to have power, but this is the only way, okay? So steam turbine, gas turbine, organic cranking cycle turbine, compressor, air conditioning, heat pump, everyone is lying on this red line, okay? This isentropic expansion. And in this red line, the efficiency of the machines are plus minus 50% from Carnot efficiency. Another something that you don't need to remember, but the Carnot efficiency is the potential of energy. For example, if you have 200 degrees Celsius, you have potential of 20% from efficiency for electricity. From 200 degrees, you can generate up to 20% electricity. If you will have, for example, 400 degrees, you can jump to 40%. But all the machines that are lying on the red line can generate up to 50% of the potential, okay? So this is the red line. And this is the most inefficient way, and this is the only way that we have. So, but you have another, that till now it was just theoretical. This is the blue line. And the target, our target is to move from the red line to the blue line, okay? And the blue line, it's called isothermal expansion, which means that when the gas is expanding, it's not cooling down, so it's continue to expand, okay? This continue to expand, this is exactly the isothermal expansion. And in isothermal expansion, you can generate up to 90% of the potential. So it's huge difference between the red line and the blue line. And all the difference is because the gas is continue to expand. It's not cooling down, so it's continue to expand. So this was just a little bit physics, but
just to maybe Doron, just to make sure I understand and playing back what I heard in simple language. If we take a gas turbine or any electricity turbine that is using steam to generate the movement of the turbine, whether this steam was produced by coal, gas, or any other mean, it doesn't matter. But you're saying that the process by which steam or hot gas, in that case water vapor, is generating the movement of the turbine is very, very inefficient because of the physics of the gas, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and I'm sorry that we need to go to a little bit physics, but you know, if you want to make a change in the world, the only option to make a change is with hardware. And when we are speaking with hardware, we're speaking about physics. Okay, so, but in a minute,
I can share with you that, you know, I think we discussed it in the preparation call, but many of our colleagues at Orbia are working in the space because and understand those efficiencies and inefficiencies, because we are one of the largest producers of refrigerant gases. So the whole expansion and energy and COP and Carnot efficiencies, this is things, and I'm sure we'll get some good questions from the audience on the chat, but some of the folks in our company really understand those cycles pretty well.
Okay, so we need to speak about it later because we need some new liquids for our engine, yeah? So maybe it can be a good cooperation.
Let's take it offline, but we can definitely help.
Okay. So actually what we're doing in Lava, we develop a new thermodynamic cycle, and you have to understand that actually the last thermodynamic cycle that had been invented was before 130 years ago. Okay, so I know it's a little bit ridiculous to say that we invented a new thermodynamic cycle, but this is the truth. And now today we know to be the best by converting heat to electricity, but also electricity to heat or cooling. Okay, so actually we have two machines. One is the heat engine. They're taking heat and generate electricity. And another one is the heat pump. They're taking electricity and generate heat or cooling. So actually, any air conditioning that you have in your room, it's heat pump. Okay, they're taking heat, they're taking electricity and generating heat or cooling. So to understand what is the meaning of the difference between the red line and the blue line, today in the world we have something like 4,000 gigawatt of steam turbine. If we will use a turbine that will be based on our thermodynamic cycle, we can generate from the same source of heat 5,200 gigawatt, which means 30% more. And this difference between 4,000 to 5,200, the 1,200 gigawatt, is actually double the US consumption for electricity. Okay, so if, you know, and today we don't have a big turbines, but if we will go and develop a big turbine, we can replace all the steam turbine in the world and generate 30% more. No one can do it. Okay, so it's a huge impact, huge. Okay, and this is just one of the markets that we can change. But this is just to understand what is the difference between the red and the blue line. So, but because we have new thermodynamic cycle, so we can go and do a lot of impact in many industries. So district heating and district cooling is one of them. We can actually be the best district heating and cooling, and in Europe is very, very important. Okay, for example, just in Germany, now they want to change all the district heating from the source of the heat is gas to electricity. They have 50 gigawatt of district heating. Another thing is heat pump. Heat pump when you want for high temperature. Usually you are generating in the industry, you're generating the heat by a gas boiler that's operating on gas. They represent almost 10% of the overall emission in the world. And anyone want to change it to replace them with a heat pump for 200 degrees. This is exactly what we can do. But also we can have a heat pump for cooling of data center. Everyone is speaking about data center. So cooling of data center, this is one of our next prototype. And we have many, okay, then geothermal and replacing steam turbine and long duration storage. And so we can speak, you know, waste heat. So we have many, many markets and we need to focus, okay? It's impossible to go all these markets. And especially when you are generating an engine, okay, or heat pump, you want that actually your beachhead, your first market will be a market that if something will happen, if you have a failure, it will be okay. Okay, because almost no one taking a heat engine as the main engine if you are a startup. Okay, you prefer to be the secondary engine. Okay, or that the process will not fail if you have a failure. Yeah. Okay, so what we decide, this is our heat engine and the heat pump. So we decide to start with waste heat for the heat engine. The heat engine, you have factories that have a lot of waste heat. Okay, so we know to generate electricity. And for example, now we are in negotiation with the biggest steel manufacturing in the US. They have potential for 200 megawatt just from the waste heat. Okay, and just to make it...
the idea is to take the waste heat from their current processes. In that example is steel production, where I guess from the blast furnaces, they have a lot of excess heat. And then you can use this heat to generate electricity.
Exactly. Okay, and when I'm saying 200 megawatts, it's important to say that the capacity factor is 100%, which means that this 200 megawatt is operational all the time. For example, when you are saying 200 megawatt of solar, usually the solar is operational in average 4 or 5 hours a day. Here, this 200 megawatt is equivalent to something like 800, 1,000 megawatt of PV. Okay. Yeah. So, but also in data center today, because they have no electricity, so what they are going to do, or they are already doing it, they are building a gas turbine to generate electricity for the data center. But the gas turbine, it's called open cycle gas turbine. The efficiency is plus minus 30%. So all the rest of the heat, of the energy, is 70% is going to the atmosphere. So we know to take this 70%, generate from it electricity, and actually what we are doing, we're converting the open cycle gas turbine to combined cycle. Okay, so we're taking gas turbine, we're taking the waste heat, use it to generate electricity, and then we can improve the gas turbine and improve them by 40% in average, 40% more production. Okay, so just for example, we are now.
If we go back to the heat end, you're saying that the waste heat from steel manufacturing today, they just release it to the atmosphere.
Yes.
And do you have any minimum temperature that makes the process more or less efficient, or it works even with lower temperature?
We know to work also with lower temperature, but the higher temperature, the better the efficiency. Okay, but you know, in some of the cases, we can work even with 60 degrees Celsius. Okay, but it's better that it will be liquid and not gas. But from 60 Celsius, we know to generate electricity. But just in a very specific cases. So actually what I'm saying is that the heat engine, for example, we are speaking now with companies that just now order 1.5 gigawatt of open cycle gas turbine for data center. So from this 1.5 gigawatt, we can add them another 500 megawatt. Okay, so it's very big numbers.
Yeah.
On the other hand, and our engine is better than the existing technology by 30%, and with lower cost. Okay.
Yeah.
So on the other hand, the heat pump, which is the same innovation, but going in reverse. So we know to be better between 30 to 50% than all the other heat pumps. Okay, so we know to have a cooling system, also heating, but let's we are starting with the cooling that can be the cooling system for the data center, and to save between 30 to 50% of the electricity for the data center. And today, the average data center, 40% of the electricity is for cooling.
It's for cooling. Yeah.
Yeah. So it can be a very important machine, and we're going to have our first prototype this year. Okay, with the biggest company for cooling of data center. Okay, so this is the beachhead. We're starting with waste heat and cooling. Later on, we will go to all the rest. Another thing it's very important that we are starting with, it's we have a partner that we will supply for him the heat engine and the heat pump, but they are doing the Carnot battery. Carnot battery, it's excellent solution for storage, for long duration storage. Okay, so they will do it, they will develop it. We will just supply for them the building blocks. Okay, and what's so nice?
You provide them you convert heat to electricity, and then they store the electricity in a long duration form.
Actually, what we are doing, we're taking electricity, we're operating our heat pump, generate hot water to 200 degrees Celsius, and then when you want to discharge, you're using the hot water to generate electricity through our heat engine. Okay, so this is a very efficient way, low cost, and this is actually the Carnot battery can actually for the first time convert any solar project to baseload, dispatchable, and stable.
Yeah.
So
yeah, today we know that one of the key challenges of converting electricity to heat and then back to electricity is that is the how do you call it, the round
cycle efficiency.
The cycle efficiency, which in some cases could be 60%.
60%, for example, in our case, we can work between 60% and 100%, 110%. Okay, so because if we add waste heat, lower grade waste heat, let's assume 60 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Celsius, 100 degrees Celsius, from 100 degrees Celsius, you're just throwing everyone is throwing all the waste heat to the atmosphere. So if we are located in every place that you have waste heat, we can generate in round cycle efficiency of 110% of round cycle efficiency. Okay.
Yeah.
So how it's work, how our engine is work. Our innovation, it's the nozzle. It's just a simple pipe. So we're taking the heat with the heat exchanger, warm up our liquid. And maybe here it's a very good place to have a cooperation with you, with Orbia. Yeah. So we are using simple liquids, depends on the temperature, but let's assume that we are, in this case, we are using ethylene glycol and pentan. So we're taking the heat from the source of the heat and warm up our ethylene glycol. So the ethylene glycol going from left into the nozzle. Okay. And then we're injecting the pentan. We're injecting the pentan into the nozzle. What happens is that we have evaporation. Okay, we have the pentan is converting to bubbles. And when it's converted to bubbles...
Because the boiling point is lower.
Yeah, exactly. And when it's converted to bubbles, it's need to cool down, because we know that when gas is expanding, it's cooling down. This is the isentropic. This is the red line from the beginning. But what happened in our case, that because the expansion happened when all the surrounding, it's the hot ethylene glycol, so the bubbles suck the heat from the ethylene glycol, so the bubbles doesn't cool down, so they continue to expand. And this continue to expand, this is exactly the moving from the red line to the blue line. Okay, so this is exactly the isothermal expansion. Okay, and now everything is going out from the nozzle in supersonic speed. Okay, so then we took 6 nozzles from this kind, combined them with one disc, and actually it rotates like a sprinkler. So we're taking heat.
Basically, if I think of it in maybe in a different metaphor, like I don't know, like a jet engine. Okay, you kind of like a push the gas through the back side of the nozzle through the isothermic process, and by that you create the movement.
Yeah, exactly. We're taking heat, convert it to kinetic energy, and the kinetic energy with generator, we generate electricity. Okay, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Our nozzle is like it's like a jet engine. Okay, but very efficient. Okay.
Yeah, even maybe to think of it like a jet ski engine that pushes the water in the
actually,
the ocean.
The inspiration for this engine is coming from marine propulsion, from some experiments that had been done for marine propulsion. There was totally failures, but we took the inspiration from these experiments.
Okay, and again, in simple words, you take a liquid, doesn't matter what's the name and what's the properties, but it boils in a relatively lower temperature. I don't know, what is it, 50, 60, whatever, you can control it, by the way. And the boiling creates bubbles. The bubbles, for whatever reason, are pushing the liquid outside, and this is what creates the movement.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then we have the heat pump. The heat pump is the opposite. If in the heat engine we done isothermal expansion, here we're doing isothermal compression. Okay? One of the problems in compression, that compressor is one of the most inefficient machines that you have. Because what happens when you compress gas, the temperature of the gas is going up, so it's much more difficult to compress it. Okay? In our case, what we are doing, we are taking gas from the outside and inject it into the nozzle. Then, because the pressure is going up, so the gas is pressurized and become bubbles. And the bubbles actually release the heat to the surrounding. But in our case, the surrounding, it's liquid. So when it's released the heat, because the heat capacity of a liquid is much more bigger than the gas, so actually all the heat is, the liquids take all the heat, and the temperature difference is just 1 degree. So actually you do compression, but isothermal. So the temperature is almost doesn't change. Okay, and this is exactly the breakthrough. It's isothermal compression, and now we know to do both ways: isothermal expansion in the heat engine, isothermal compression in the heat pump. Okay, so we know we can now. This is the reason why we can be very efficient, in cooling and heating by the heat pump. This is already our prototype. It's already operational. It's located now in Ormat facility. Ormat is the world leader for geothermal and ORC system, and this is located in their facility. And I hope that in several weeks we will finish with the prototype, and then we can go forward for commercial projects.
So what do we see here? We see on the red skid.
Yeah, on the red skid, it's just the heaters, because we need to generate heat. Okay, because we don't have heat in this location, so we generate the heat by heaters. And then
it's kind of like to create an artificial geothermal heat.
Exactly. Okay, and then what you see in the bottom side, the big machine, this is the heat engine. This is the first one, or actually it's generation 3, but the first prototype. The next one will look totally different, but this is our first operational heat engine.
And you're actually producing electricity from the heat.
Yeah, exactly. And we achieve already 84% from Carnot efficiency. Okay.
And just for comparison, what did the geothermal developers are doing today? They take hot air or hot water from the inside of the earth, and then what's the current process of generating electricity?
They are using a system, it's called organic raking cycle, or ORC, but our efficiency, it's plus minus 30% better than the ORC. Okay, so actually in any geothermal facility, we can improve it, between 20 to 30%. Okay, so if geothermal will become which is a good chance that it will be, the geothermal, you have the potential to generate all the electricity that our planet need. And now you have new technologies that they have good chance to succeed. And if they will succeed, we can be the standard of the geothermal projects.
And is it basically your device is kind of like a plug and play, like you take out their current heat to electricity conversion, and you can plug in yours, and it's a relatively simple replacement?
Yeah, very simple. So for sure, we have a lot of IP because we are the first ones that actually use this physics for heat engine and heat pump. So we have very strong IP. Usually when you are going to have IP, it's nothing, usually it's very small changes that you can have IP. We have the full IP on the full process. The full process of the engine, the full process of the heat pump, the full process of the Carnot battery. So everything that we are doing, we have all the process, we get it fully patent. We have also, despite that we are a very young company, we have a very strong traction from the market. So very big companies we are dealing with. We are not taking any orders now because we want to finish first of all the prototype and the commercial pilots. But end of the year, hopefully we'll have our first commercial pilot, and then we can start to take orders. But despite the fact we are speaking with the biggest steel manufacturing and the biggest cooling data center company and a lot of developer. And also for the Carnot battery, we have, for example, our partners is a Berkshire Hathaway subsidiary. Okay, so very big companies, really excited about our innovation. So we had round A till now and seed that we raised $20 million. And we have also grant for $5 million. Just a month ago, we won the EIC, the EU EIC. The EIC is the most prestigious competition for deep tech, and we won it. It was very difficult, but we won it. So till now we raised $25 million. Our round A going to be probably in a month or two. We already have partnerships with a lot of companies, pre-order of 50 megawatt, and our next round going to be, as I said, in a month or two, and we already secure 20 million. Okay, so it's a little bit more than 50%, but we already secured 20 million because of the EAC and because our current investors want to join also for the next round. So we have two business models. One is the energy as a service. So we just putting our equipment, installing our equipment, and we finance it, and we just sell the electricity. Or the simple case, it's direct sales, that when you want, you can just buy our equipment. This is just some review of the EAC Accelerator judges. So you can, it's very nice to read it for me. Yeah, but in principle, or in short, they say that our innovation can make a real change. And this is actually how I start this presentation. The reason I actually sold my company, it was very simple for me to continue to do solar energy. I was the biggest player, and maybe it was, at least in the beginning, it was a great mistake to not to continue, because you can have many, many projects. But I decided that what I want to do is something that can make a change, can move the needle. And actually, this is exactly what the EAC agrees with us, that we can move the needle, we can make a change. And this is our journey. It's a very difficult journey. It's like a roller coaster. You have a lot of failures along the way. I'm not sure that I will recommend to a friend of mine to build deep tech energy startups, but this is what we are doing. And we hope that we will finish in a very successful way, but it's not sure. Yeah. So, so actually this is lava.
Good. Very exciting. A couple of questions to discuss. One, you showed me in the past, like the way that this fixed nozzle looks like. I don't know if you have this image, but I think it would be helpful for the people to see how it looks, because it brings to life where the movement is coming from.
I can share it in a minute.
And in the meantime, I'll ask you about unit economics. So maybe today it's still relatively expensive, but when you think about replacing geothermal heat to electricity turbines, or when you think about other comparison, what is the unit economics, and how does it compare to current solutions?
So first of all, it's going to be much more cheaper, okay? Because our system, it's very simple, okay? So because we have no blades, we have no rare materials, we have simple machining, so the cost will be very low cost. We are targeting less than 3 years of return. In most of the cases, we prefer 1 year, but I can say that between 1 year to 3 years, this will be the return. If you want to see the engine, okay, so what you see here, this is how it's look like, okay? This is the inner part of the engine.
So each one of those, what looks like nozzles, this is what, when the gas is pressured out, this is what creates the movement.
Exactly.
And then the rotor is spinning the engine on top of it and generate electricity, like in a regular copper coil moving inside a magnet.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the case. It's in the end of it, it will be very simple. It will take time until it will be ready, but when it will be ready, it will be very simple.
And this is all in a closed environment, or do you have any consumables like liquid or gases? Anything is being consumed, or it's all closed?
Everything is closed. Okay, so everything is closed, but yeah, we need to change. For example, the liquid. We don't want to use pentan, for example. So we need something better than pentan, because we're looking for something that's not flammable. Okay, so it will be great to start a process to understand if you have a solution, but also for cooling and for heating. So we're using a lot of liquids. So it can
You're
be a
basically
very
looking for
good.
something with like a molecule with a low boiling point, but with not high flammability. Does it exist?
That you will need to tell me. You know, most of in the industry, everyone is using pentan, cyclopentan, you know, butan in other temperature. So, but this is the materials that we are using.
Yeah. Okay, couple of questions that come from the audience that would be great to discuss. The first one is a question around how much pressure is required to pump the bubbling heat transfer liquid through the nozzle and the turbine. Like what type of pressure are we talking about?
It depends on the application, but usually we are not exceeding, you know, 5-6 bar. Okay, so it's not high pressures, but it's important to say, yeah, that you know, any engines that you know, it's optimized for the last 60, 80, 100 years, yeah. So you know, we are just in our first steps. Okay, so maybe if you will ask me this question in 3 years, maybe the answer will be totally different. Okay, because we build engine, but maybe we will change it, and because we come to the conclusion that maybe it can be better with high pressure, but for now the pressure is very low.
Yeah. Another question talks about VIP, which is value improvement practices, and how is your process compared to capillary project in terms of value improvement practices, in terms of minimizing waste and energy optimization?
So in the end of the day, this is what we measure. We measure how much electricity we can generate. Okay, so all of our system, it's when I'm saying that we can achieve 84% of Carnot efficiency, it's after all the parasitic loads. Okay, so yeah, it's this is part of the machine. Okay, so we're all the time trying to make it more efficient, and for sure the machines that we are working today and the machines that will be in 5 years, the next machine will be much more efficient, and probably in 10 years or 20 years it will be much more efficient. So, but so we're all the time trying to improve it, but for now it's more important for us to bring something operational to the market. Later on, we will all the time we will do improvements.
Yeah. Another question is around the minimum size of a one generator. I guess you're talking about the modular system, but if you think about the smallest possible efficient unit, what's the size in kilowatt or whatever you measure the capacity?
Yeah, we hope or we are targeting that the smallest will be 500 kilowatt. And the reason it's because in the end of the day, it's very similar to hydroelectric pump or turbine, yeah? And in hydroelectric, you have a lot of losses. When the machine is very small, you have a lot of losses in the pipes. So you want big pipes. So we don't want to go down lower than 500 kilowatts, but practical, we can go even to a very, very small one. But we want to have 500 kilowatt and 1 megawatt units. This is for the beginning. Later on, we will make bigger turbines.
Yeah, and the idea is to rely as much as possible on existing turbines and not invent the wheel.
Our turbine is totally new, yeah. So if we are going to replace a turbine, we take the old turbine, put it aside, and bring our turbine. So actually,
the turbine, whatever with the nozzle spin, yeah, but on the top it's a standard engine, right?
Yeah, it's standard generator, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the generator we didn't change anything. It's off-the-shelf generator.
Yeah. Some of the people recommend maybe exploring methylene or CBM, but we can take it offline unless you tried it already.
No, actually, you know, I have my team. They're doing a lot of you know, experiments. So I don't know if they try it or not. We want to replace it. For now, we're just using what the industry is using, okay? So, but yeah, we want to change it. And the minute after we're going to prove that the product is operational, we want to change it to other materials.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you said your current two main focus areas are geothermal and data centers.
For the beginning, it's waste heat. Okay, for the beachhead is waste heat, but waste heat of factories, waste heat of data centers, of the engine of the data center. Later on, it will be geothermal, and then we can go to a bigger turbine. And this is on the heat engine. On the heat pump is cooling of data centers. Then it's district heating, and then the combination of the heat engine and the heat pump, which is the Carnot battery.
Yeah. You know, if we fast forward, 3-4 years, and we want to be very optimistic that this will succeed, but there is a scenario where it won't. What do you think are the 2-3 main things you will need to overcome in the next 2-3 years to make it successful?
So it's not simple to build a new engine. So you can have actually endless amount of failures, even simple one, yeah? So the physics already proved. Now we need also to have a good machine or good engineering. It's not so simple, especially when you are a small company. We have a strong team, but we have a lot of problems all the time. We are solving one by one, and I hope we will succeed. I can tell you that for sure, the thermodynamic cycle will be a success, okay? Maybe even if we will fail, because I don't know, we don't have enough money or I don't know what will happen. The thermodynamic cycle, someone will use it, okay? Because if I'm going to the beginning of the presentation, the difference between the red line and the blue line, it's so huge that, for steam turbine, for heat pump, for heat engine, someone will use it, okay? Hopefully it will be us, yeah? But even if we will have a failure, someone will use it.
Yeah. Another question is around the cycle time or the life expectancy of the system. Did you experience any degradation, any
No.
wear of the nozzles?
4 years, 40 years, and you can go, okay? And even if you have a degradation in the nozzle, it's very simple to replace them, okay? So, but the system itself, we are designing it for 40 years.
With nothing to be replaced in 40 years?
No, you will need to replace, but like in any system, even if you will go to a steam turbine or a diesel engine, you have all the time maintenance, but the engine itself, it's for 40 years.
What is the turbine and the nozzle are made of?
Carbon steel.
So it's light also.
Yeah. Nothing special about it.
Yeah. And then another question is around does the system need to be completely closed, or could you transfer the liquid somewhere else and then consume the heat energy at the facility and transport it back? Like, do you have to have it all in one place, or can you transport the liquid?
No, you need you can, but it will make it much more complicated, yeah? So usually we want to be as close as possible to the heat source. But, if it will be 100 meters, 200 meters, okay, yeah? But the best, it will be, but if you will tell me, okay, 10 kilometers, I say, okay, this is not the case.
No, because you're probably going to lose a lot of the energy in
exactly.
in the liquid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe last question before we conclude. I'm sure you have many sleepless nights, but in the last couple of weeks, what are the things that are kind of like that keep you awake, like the 2-3 most pressing things that keep you awake?
Actually, right now we are doing our very important experiments, and just call me to get the results. Okay, so after we will finish this presentation, the first thing that I'm doing is to call them to understand what it will be the results. But we are struggling with a lot of difficulties, but we solve them and we continue every time to the next challenge. But to develop a new thermodynamic cycle and then a new engine and a new heat pump is a huge challenge. So we have many challenges.
Yeah. Good. Okay, Doron, it was a pleasure. I think it's very important not only for the success of Lava, but also for climate change and renewable energy and efficient use of our resources. It's very important that you succeed. If we can help in any way, please let us know and we can take it offline. But otherwise, thanks for taking the time during your busy schedule to talk to us and teach us about this new technology. And we wish you all the best.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye, take care.